Welcome back. And if you are new here, my name is Diana. I am the creator of Money Boss Mama, which is a personal finance website dedicated to helping women save money, pay off debt, and shift their money mindsets. You can learn more about me on my site, moneybossmama.com, and be sure you are following me on Instagram at moneybossmama because I'm always giving out free money tips. But in this video, I wanted to bring it back to the basics and show you all how you can create your first budget. It's really quick, really easy, but I know that budgets trip a lot of people up. They are intimidating, but breaking it down is just you telling your money what to do. It's you making your expenses fit within your income. So I wanted to show you how you could create one. I am going to actually turn the camera around just so I can show you what I'm doing. But before we get started, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe because I do upload new videos every single week. So let's get rolling. Okay, so first of all, sorry for my ashy hands. But the first step that you will take whenever you are creating your budget is, of course, determining, what all you are paying for regularly. So this is going to be like rent, gas, groceries, like your utilities, etc. So you are going to list out everything that you are paying for on the regular, as well as the amount. So I created like a little mock expense and amount thing here just to have a better visual. So you can see here that we pay for rent, Wi-Fi, our cell phone, water, electric, etc. So the regular bills, of course, that's going to be your rent, utilities, electric, all of your essential expenses. And your essential expenses are going to be those that are absolutely necessary. So you're going to make a list of all of those expenses on, it can be like a sheet of note paper or a Word document, etc. And you're going to write down the amount that you're paying for. So I recommend starting with your fixed expenses first because they are the easiest because the amount does not change. So that's going to be like your rent / mortgage, your cell phone bill, that your loans, like if you have a car payment that you're paying on or a personal loan, that's going to be the same amount each time. Your cable or your Wi-Fi is going to be the same amount each time. So write down all of your regular fixed expenses that you pay for regularly and the amount that is you're coming out of each month. And then you're going to go through and write down your variable expenses. And an example is like your water bill and your electric bill. Now for a quick little strategy to help you determine how much to set aside for your bills that are only paid once a month, but they vary. So depending on how much you use it, the amount may differ from month to month. So it's not a fixed expense like your rent. It is called a variable expense. So here I took the last 3 billing statements from my utility service provider and just put it all on one Word document just to show you how I actually do it in my budget for those expenses. So I have my bill from July, August, and September. So I only use the last 3. So here I would take each amount and I would add them all together and of course divide by 3 to find the average. So the average of these 3 bills is going to be $113. I could put the $113 in my budget, but for me, I wanted a little bit of a buffer. So I always opt to add an extra $10 to $20, just depending on the type of expense that it is. I know that with utility services, it can go up and down pretty drastically. So I added an extra $20 in. So if we do that for these 3 here, that would come out to be $133 that we would write in our budget. And using that $133 amount, let's say that these are our next 3 bills. So that would mean that we would have like an extra $30 if we budget for $133 and our bill comes out to be $104.57. This is the really cool thing with this is that since we actually came under, you're going to have $30 in whatever account that this amount is pulled from that is going to act as a buffer. So the next time your electric bill or whatever rolls around, if it's 120, so it's about $20 over what it was before, you don't have to sit there and stress out over the amount, because number one, you added in a $10 to $20 buffer and you came under your budgeted amount last time. So you have an extra $30 that could be rolled over to this amount. But even still, 133 that we originally budgeted is still under. So you have, that's about a $40 buffer that's going to be sitting in your account, and that buffered amount is just going to continue to build up on itself. So maybe if you do get like a $180 electric bill, then you would have funds in whatever account that you are using to help offset those really high months. One quick way that you can determine whatever it is that you are paying for on the regular is to gather your bank statements. So your bank statements are not going to lie. If anything is going to expose you, it's going to be those statements. So you're going to go through your bank statements, and that's going to be for all the financial institutions that you use regularly if you have more than one bank account. And you're going to go through, maybe like gather the first 2 to 3 and see what it is you're paying for regularly. So you know what it is, what bills that you have, but you also need to include those other regular expenses that you are coming out of as well. All right, so I went and dug up last year's statement for September and a little bit of October, since I mostly use cash now, just so I can show you how you are going to use your bank statements to help you figure out how much to set aside for those variable expenses, such as like your discretionary income, as well as your essentials such as gas and groceries. So you would, of course, print out more than one. You're going to need about 3 to 4 bank statements from each account to help you figure out how much to set aside. So what you would do is go through literally every single transaction, and you're going to categorize each transaction based on what you have it under in your budget. So for example, here, this is an online banking transfer, so that's not going to go anywhere. Now for this Dollar General, I'm going to assume I went because I needed like some tissue or some toothpaste. So I have that under household. So out on the side here, I'm going to put my budget category, and you may or may not have a lot of space to write it down, just depending on how your bank does your transaction statements. So I'll have this here, and I like to categorize each transaction because whenever I'm wanting to add up every category from each statement, it allows me to keep everything organized, so I can just quickly go through and find whatever category that I'm looking for and get them all added up. So next here we have Kroger fuel, so that is under my gas. And then Lisa, this would be for childcare whenever my daughter was actually going to school in person. And this is an ATM withdrawal. So here I have gas again. And so I will just continue to go through each transaction, categorize each transaction based on how I have it in my budget. And then whenever I have completed going through every single transaction in each statement, then I would add up each category or expense from each statement. So let's say that altogether we have maybe $200 in gas on this statement. We have $200 in gas on the next statement and $200 in gas on the third statement. So finding the average, we will divide the $600 by 3, which is going to put us back at the $200. So we know that we could possibly put $200 in our budget if we were budgeting monthly. Of course, this amount is going to vary depending on the frequency of your budget. So if you budget monthly, it would be $200. If you are budgeting bi-weekly, it would be $100. It just depends on how you want to do it. So this is a good way to kind of figure out how much to allocate to every single expense. And if you are someone that doesn't feel comfortable using the average, you of course could use a little buffer, add in a little more, just to help offset maybe those months or times that you would come over the amount that you put in your budget. So I'm going to start writing out the expenses and the amounts on the budget sheet. And this is a free budget sheet that I have created that you can download. If you are interested, I will leave it down in the description box below. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. For this example, I'm going to budget monthly. But any consistent source of income that you have, whether that be child support, a second job, etc., disability, you want to include that in your income as well. But for this, I am going to say that we make $900 every 2 weeks, but we opt to create a monthly budget. So here, whenever you have your list of your expenses as well as the amounts that you are paying for them, then we will go ahead and transfer it over to the budget sheet. For rent or mortgage, we have $850. For our Wi-Fi, we are paying $80. Remember, this is monthly, so we're going to write down 80. For our cell phone bill, we're paying $50. For water, $60. Electric at $160 or $100. Then for gas, we are coming out $160. So this would be what we had determined would be a safe amount whenever we actually went through our bank statements to see how much we are coming out in gas. So we've opted to take out $80 per paycheck because in this example, we get paid every 2 weeks, but we are budgeting monthly. And for groceries, we are budgeting $250. Credit cards. Now, I will say, of course, depending on your balance and how much you pay down before the next statement cutoff date, your credit card minimum, if you do have credit card debt, is going to be different each time. But one thing that I like to do just to keep myself from getting confused, I always made more than the minimum payment. So I would make like an extra $10 or $20 more. So depending on whatever my minimum payment was, I would settle on an amount that I was going to send to credit card debt each month. That way I didn't have to worry about altering my budget every single time depending on what the minimum payment was. So I knew that whatever amount that I budgeted for was going to be over or way over what the minimum was. So for credit cards, we are going to budget for $70 every single month, and that's going to go under the debt category. Auto insurance is going to be $80, so that's going to go under transportation. And for personal, we only have remaining $50 per paycheck or $100 per month. So we're going to put this under the entertainment category. Okay, so now obviously you want to include some type of savings contribution in your budget. For this example, I did not include anything in savings, but be sure that this section right here is not blank. It doesn't matter if you can only afford to put back $5 or $10 at a time, or maybe that's for the whole entire month, but you don't want this to be blank. Put something down here, give yourself a cushion, do yourself a favor. Savings is a form of self-care, so don't neglect this category here. But altogether, all you will do whenever you write down all of your expenses and your income, you will tally up your expenses and then you will subtract the amount from your income. So for this example, I did a zero-based budget, which means that the total amount of our expenses is going to equal our income. So it's $1,800 for everything. I have every dollar used up. And if you are someone that struggles to stay on budget in certain categories, or you get super confused if you have an amount remaining in your bank account, Then a good way to, kind of just bypass all of that is to use a zero-based budget. So give every single dollar a specific job. That way you know exactly how much you have to spend on every single expense. So, the chances of you overspending are going to be drastically reduced. So here, total income, total expenses is $1,800. So our spendable income is $0. So if you opt to use the zero-based budget, then that is going to be what your spendable income should be. Here, even though we only make $900 every 2 weeks, we still have a budget. This is going to be our budget. We've opted to budget monthly. So now we know this is how much we have coming in. This is how much we have going out. And you can always adjust it depending on what your financial goals are at the time. But you can make a budget. All right, so that wraps up this video on how to create a budget. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you found this helpful, and remember to subscribe because I do upload new videos every single week, sometimes twice a week. But in the meantime, I will catch you all in the next one.